This is Alexander Spellane, CEO of Fisher Capital. We have a special guest. This is Alex Stone, who happens to be the adopted nephew of our spokesperson, Roger Stone. Alex, welcome.
Thank you so much, Alex, for having me on. It's an honor to be here. We were talking last night, having a good time at the James O'Keefe after party. It was a blast, and got connected with you by being with Roger, and it's been a great time.
I just want to point out, you're 19 years old. You've got your own show. It's really impressive. How did you meet Roger Stone, and how did you come to have your own show and start getting involved with the movement?
Yeah, well, I'll start with how I had my own show. I was bored in my mom's basement during COVID-19. I had nothing better to do. I saw that suicide rates were rising. I saw that depression was rising, anxiety was rising. So I was like, I want to give people hope. So I started my show, called it A Stonewall's Perspective, and started there talking about God, talking about the gospel, things related to spiritual life and whatever. Then I began to realize the corruption that is in politics, how corrupt politics is. And I said, oh my gosh, I need to go get involved in politics and start talking about politics from a biblical worldview, because most Christians aren't doing that. That's just the reality. So I started talking about politics and got involved and met people, started going to events, started going to the Reawaken America tour. And on the Reawaken America tour, I met this woman by the name of Ann Vandersteel. And Ann has basically been one of my mentors in media for a very long time. And so Ann, at one point, she said, Alex, I want you to be part of this initiative called the Zelenko Freedom Foundation Zelenko Fellow Program. So I said, okay, sure. And so with that, we went to the Brighteon studio in Tennessee, and she said to me, you're going to co-host with me on my show, Alex, for this trip. And I said, okay. She told me that I can have any guest that I want. So I said, okay, I want Roger Stone.
Why did you pick Roger Stone?
I had wanted to meet Roger for a very long time. He's inspirational, obviously. I believe that he's the reason that MAGA even exists. Without Roger Stone encouraging President Trump to run for president countless times, we wouldn't have a President Trump today. So I wanted Roger Stone for that reason, but also the last name connection. I think it would be really cool to interview someone with the same last name as me, and it just so happened to be Roger Stone.
That is really cool. When I met you, Roger he's a style icon, right?
Yes, he is.
And when I met you, it was actually with Roger.
Yes.
You were in a pinstripe suit
Yes.
with the fedora, just like Roger was. Did you always dress that way, or did Roger help you with your style?
No, Roger definitely helped me with my style. When I was at Miami and Reawaken America tour in May, I interviewed him, and he said, the reason I'm doing an interview with you is because you're my nephew. And then went to like 2 other interviews, I think. But he didn't do many, but he said, I'm doing it with you because you're my nephew. And then after the interview, he looked at me and said, Alex, you need to up your clothing game. I was like, okay, sure. So after that, I got Stone's Rules, read that book, read it a million times, started reading it and just devouring it. So I started getting suits, started getting this, started getting that, started getting this hat. And so I've upped my game professionally quite a bit as far as dressing goes.
Yeah, I respect that. I'm a big proponent of just having a good suit. I think it makes a world of difference, especially just in my personal day-to-day, the way I conduct myself. A lot of what I do is just sitting behind a desk, and I do it in a suit. I might not even meet with anybody, but I always put a suit on. So you've got great style, so does Roger, and I'm also a fan. You were telling me that you're working with Roger Stone and General Flynn. Why don't you name some other important people? I know that you're traveling a lot with Roger. You probably met a lot of important people at this point, and obviously Roger's doing a lot for Trump's campaign again.
Yes, he is.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so what I'm doing, it's called Operation Z, and so originally I was looking at the Democrat strategy of how to get young people involved and young people voting. And so what they've done is they have realized the importance of new media, i.e. TikTok, right? So they have hired quite a few Generation Z communist influencers to go in places like TikTok and promote their lies and propaganda. So these people, they've gotten meetings with Obama, they've gotten meetings with Biden in the Oval Office, they've gotten Capitol tours, et cetera, and they've been paid to go promote their propaganda. Then I'm looking at what the RNC is doing and what the Republicans are doing, and they're not doing anything similar, they're not doing anything alike, they're not getting involved in helping my generation vote the right way.
Right.
So I'm looking at this in July, and I text General Flynn, and I say, General, this is what's going on. When do you have time for a phone call? He says, call me tomorrow. So we talk on the phone the next day, and I say, this is what's happening. I'm going to have a plan for you by Mike Lindell's event in August. So there was about 20 days in between that, and I would try and write things down. I would try and put things together, but nothing would come to me. So I get to my hotel the night before the event. I lay my head on my pillow, still have nothing, fall asleep, and then 4 a.m., the Holy Spirit wakes me up, tells me everything I need to say. I write everything down. I meet with General Flynn on the next night, present it to him, and he loves it. He eats it up. He says, Alex, I love this presentation, keep going. He said that about 20 minutes in the interview. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna go somewhere. So somewhere in that time, I meet with my buddy, Dr. Cordy Williams. He ran for United States Senate in the state of California and got third place in the jungle primary because the GOP, they basically screwed him over. But that's another story. So I talk with him about this because he's one of my best friends, and I say, Cordy, I want you involved. And so we start doing this together, and we start meeting with General Flynn, we start meeting with Roger Stone, and how do we make this work? And so basically what we're doing, man, is we are raising $250,000 to $500,000 to hire these Generation Z influencers to go promote the truth. There's going to be a very set list of criteria that they can talk about. So things we can't talk about because of TikTok guidelines. We can't talk about COVID-19 and how that's a scam. We can't talk about vaccines.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about the stolen election, but we can talk about other things related to freedom. We can talk about constitutional ideology. We can talk about, why do we have the First Amendment? What does this mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do we have the Second Amendment? What does this mean? Why does the Second Amendment protect the First Amendment, et cetera, et cetera? So we can talk about those things and promote the truth in a very clear way, like, hey, this is what we believe, this is why we believe it, and get the truth on the screens of my generation.
You inspired just a thought in my mind. It's so important that you do that now because the censorship is real.
Yes,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did start restricting people's ability to talk about the Constitution on these platforms. How do you feel about that?
No, I certainly agree with you, and I think time is of the essence. We only have 320 so days until the next election, so we need to get this rolling now. So we have some pretty big things coming up in January. I was just in Tulare, California for the Reawaken America tour on Saturday. General Flynn introduced me to speak at 8:30 in the morning, and that was awesome. So we're working on some pretty big things that are going to be happening by the end of January. We're going to have a massive Generation Z channel and something called Patriot TV that General Flynn is starting. And there's some other pretty big things. We got some pretty big six-figure donations that are coming our way.
Awesome.
So it's been awesome. And so what you guys can do is go to opznow.com. That's opznow.com. You can watch the endorsement video from General Flynn that he gave us at the Miami Reawaken America tour. You can learn more about, the strategy that we have to get young people involved. And then there's also an option to donate so that we can hire these Generation Z influencers, pay them $1,000 a month for doing what they do, and then go spread the truth like a mantra.
Absolutely. So 2023 is coming to an end.
Yes, sir.
It's December 19th today. The event's actually ending today, so it's the last day of America Fest. How's 2023 been for you?
2023 has been the best year of my life. I've gotten so many amazing connections. Became friends with General Flynn this year. Became the adopted nephew of Roger Stone this year.
Oh, so it's all very recent then. That's awesome.
So it was this year. So it was about in January. So it's been almost a year. But it's been amazing. It's been phenomenal. Just seeing how, consistency and, keeping going, where that gets you. And so anyone who's watching, just keep on doing what you're doing, keep fighting, keep going on, and you'll get to where you want to be. Absolutely.
Closing question. What are the big plans in 2024? Obviously with the election coming up, you working with Roger, that's got to be really exciting because, he's managing Trump's campaign at this point. And, he's obviously, if there was one person who I would work with of any campaign manager, it would be him. I mean, you picked the right guy to roll with.
Yeah,
so
you're exactly right. I think, there's a couple things. Obviously, the Operation Z thing, which we've been talking about. The number two, meet Donald Trump, I believe it's going to happen. Have you ever heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yes, I actually.
So everyone is 6 degrees away from
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon. You know, you're 6 people away from Kevin Bacon. I'm 1 degree away from President Trump in all the best areas. I'm going to get to President Trump. I'm going to put this thing on his desk. I'm going to say, President Trump, we need your support for this. And ultimately, he's going to win the election. And it's because my generation is going to get involved doing the right thing, voting the right way in 2024.
That's awesome. I'd like to have you out at Mar-a-Lago February 16th. I'll send you more info about that. It'd be really good if you and Roger could be there.
Boom.
But I'm very impressed, man. You've got a bright future ahead of you at 19 years old. Where can the audience check you out personally?
Yes, sir. So on Truth Social, go to _Stonewall. _Stonewall. Truth Social is booming for me. You know, Roger Stone retruths me all the time. General Flynn retruths me all the time. You know, so people are starting to, you know, hear what I have to say. And so with what I'm doing on my platform, I wanna raise up other Generation Z platforms as well, so that they can, so that people can understand that Generation Z is involved. They are ready. They are at the forefront. They are at the front lines, and they want to fight for this country.
Amazing. Thanks for coming on.
Alexander, thank you.
Yeah.